You think you are a Stoic. You pride yourself on the fact that you don't break down when things get hard. You don't complain. You don't ask for help. When chaos erupts around you, you go quiet. You retreat into the fortress of your own mind, and you handle it alone. You believe this makes you strong. You believe this emotional detachment is the ultimate armor against a chaotic, unpredictable world. But Marcus Aurelius would look at you and tell you a very uncomfortable truth. You are not practicing Stoicism. You are practicing survival. What you call strength is actually a psychological defense mechanism. What you call rationality is simply a deep, subconscious fear of vulnerability. You haven't mastered your emotions, you have merely amputated them. And there is a massive, life-altering difference between the two. Welcome back to The Forgotten Secret. Today, we are exposing the greatest lie modern men tell themselves. We are going to deconstruct why you constantly push people away, why you feel an empty void even when you achieve greatness, and why your emotional deadness is quietly destroying your life. In psychology, this armor you wear isn't called Stoicism. It is called avoidant attachment. It is not a philosophy, it is a trauma response. And understanding how it was built is the only way you will ever truly become an unshakable man. Stick with me, because what we are about to uncover will explain every failed relationship and every moment of silent desperation you have ever experienced. Phase 1. The origin of the ice. To dismantle the fake Stoic, we must first look at where the armor was forged. Most people assume that emotional detachment comes from extreme, dramatic trauma, a violent event, a massive betrayal, a catastrophic loss. But the truth is far more subtle and far more common. Your avoidance didn't develop because someone was outright cruel to you. It developed through hundreds of tiny, almost invisible moments of emotional mismatch when you were a child. Think back. When you were young and you felt frustrated, scared, or overwhelmed, what happened? Perhaps your caregivers provided for your physical needs flawlessly, but they struggled with your emotional ones. When you reached out for comfort, maybe you received it, but not reliably. Maybe you were told you're fine when you were actually terrified. Maybe your big feelings were met with a distracted parent, a delayed response, or a subtle look of discomfort and annoyance. Your developing nervous system is a brilliant survival machine. It doesn't look for perfection, it looks for predictable patterns. And the pattern your brain recognized was crystal clear. When I show big feelings, the people I need the most create distance. Emotional reaching was met with subtle discomfort. Teaching your nervous kips with some red hands and red styles were tended. You solved the problem of unpredictable emotional availability by simply eliminating your need for it. You minimized your expressions. You became easier, quieter, less demanding. You became the low-maintenance child. And here is the absolute tragedy of this adaptation. The world rewarded you for it. Your parents praised you for being so mature, so independent, so easy to deal with. Teachers loved you because you never created drama. You received constant societal reinforcement that being emotionally self-contained was good, and that handling things alone was the definition of strength. What started as a desperate biological adaptation to inconsistent emotional support morphed into your entire identity. You told yourself, I am the person who doesn't need much. I handle things myself. But make no mistake, this is not emotional coldness. It is emotional efficiency. You didn't become strong. You just learned that presenting a muted, easy version of yourself was the only way to stay safe. Phase 2. The shield of competence. As you grew into a man, this identity hardened into a fortress. But because you disconnected from your own emotional needs, you had to find a new way to prove your worth to the world. And that is when you fell into the second trap. You replaced emotional expression with competence. You learned a devastating, unspoken lesson. I matter because of what I do, not because of who I am. When you achieved something, when you brought home good grades, when you won the game, or later, when you secured the high-paying job, the adults and peers in your life lit up with approval. But when you expressed vulnerability or fear, they disengaged. So, You poured all of your life force into achievement. You traded your humanity for capability. Look at your life right now. You are likely the rock in your family or your friend group. You are the responsible one, the problem solver, the high achiever who makes carrying heavy burdens look incredibly easy. You look extraordinarily high-functioning on the outside, appearing to have it all together. But beneath that competent exterior, there is a profound, echoing emptiness. You feel emotionally distant and unable to connect deeply. You are lonely, but you don't know how to fix it because nobody sees the struggling human underneath the performance. It is like working at a job where the boss only values you for your output and never checks in on you as a person. Eventually, you learn your value in that family system or that relationship is entirely tied to the results you produce. You believe you are acting like a Stoic by taking on the weight of the world without a single complaint. But true Stoicism is about serving the common good while maintaining inner tranquility. Your pursuit of competence isn't about tranquility. It is a desperate attempt to justify your existence. You are using your success, your Stoic facade, and your ability to fix things as a shield to ensure nobody ever gets close enough to see the cracks in your armor. Phase 3. The illusion of control. This brings us to a darker layer of your psychology, one that directly violates the ancient philosophy you claim to practice. Fake Stoicism breeds an obsession with control. Epictetus, one of the founding fathers of Stoicism, taught the dichotomy of control. A true Stoic rigidly separates what he can control, his own judgments and actions, from what he cannot, the external world and other people's opinions. But as an avoidant man, you are terrified of what you cannot control. Emotions are messy, they are unpredictable, they do not follow logical spreadsheets or neat philosophical maxims. Because your childhood taught you that unpredictable emotions lead to abandonment, you now try to micromanage your environment to prevent emotional spikes. You calculate every interaction. You read the room meticulously, trying to figure out what version of yourself will cause the least amount of friction. You become hyper-vigilant, carefully managing your partner's moods so that you don't have to deal with their emotional intensity. You tell yourself you are just keeping the peace or being logical, but in reality, you are playing a cowardly game of emotional chess. When your partner brings up a conflict, you dismiss it as irrational. You try to fix their feelings with logic instead of simply sitting with them in their distress. Why? Because their raw emotion triggers your deeply buried panic. You are not being a rational Stoic in these moments. You are being a frightened boy, trying to control an uncontrollable storm. You have become a slave to your fear of vulnerability. Phase 4. The aftermath. Isolation and stonewalling. This illusion of control leads directly to the most destructive pattern in your adult life. The exact reason why your romantic relationships feel strained, distant, or ultimately fail. Think about how you react when a major interpersonal crisis hits, or when you are under immense psychological pressure. Do you go to your partner and say, "I am overwhelmed, I need your support"? No, you shut down, you stonewall. You physically or emotionally isolate yourself until you have fixed the problem alone. Why do you do this? Because your nervous system operates on a silent rule. Comfort and connection only come after the feeling stops. When you were a child, if you cried, your caregivers maintained distance until you calmed yourself down. The lesson was brutally clear. Connection comes only after I shut my feelings off. The pathway to being loved isn't through expressing distress. It is through suppressing it. You are essentially taught, clean yourself up emotionally, then we can connect. Now, as an adult, you repeat this exact cycle. You literally cannot access connection while you are dysregulated. You believe that if you show your messy, stressed, or vulnerable side, you will be rejected or perceived as weak, or worse, a burden. You can only reconnect with others after you have handled everything privately and can present a calm, capable exterior once again. But here is the brutal reality. Intimacy is forged in the fire of shared adversity. When you lock your partner out, during your darkest moments. When you stare at them with a blank expression while they are crying out for connection, you are denying them the chance to actually know you. You think you are protecting them from your burdens. You think you are being a strong, unbothered, stoic man. But what you are actually doing is emotionally abandoning the relationship when it matters most. You are choosing the sterile safety of isolation over the chaotic courage of vulnerability. Phase 5. The way of the true Stoic. So, how do we break this cycle? How do we transition from a man who is emotionally dead out of fear to a man who is truly stoic and genuinely unbreakable? We must return to the actual teachings of the ancient masters. We must understand the concept of apatheia. Modern society translates this as apathy or not caring. But to the ancient Greeks, apatheia meant freedom from pathological or destructive emotions, not the eradication of human feeling altogether. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who faced devastating plagues, betrayals from his closest generals, and the death of his own children, did not write his famous meditations to suppress his emotions. He wrote his private journal to process them. Seneca did not teach that a man should feel nothing when he loses a friend. He taught that a man should feel the grief deeply, but not let that grief turn into lifelong despair. Fake Stoicism is avoidance. It is looking at a terrifying storm and pretending the wind isn't blowing, because you are secretly terrified of the lightning. It is emotional suppression, and biologically, it is destroying you. Studies show that when you suppress your emotions, your heart rate actually spikes, your cortisol floods your system, and your body stays in a constant state of fight or flight. You are not calm, your engine is just redlining in neutral. True Stoicism is integration. It is standing in the center of the storm, feeling the freezing rain on your skin, acknowledging the terror in your chest, and choosing to act with virtue anyway. Furthermore, Marcus Aurelius frequently wrote about the concept of sympatheia, the deep, cosmic interconnectedness of all living things. He believed that humans were made for each other, like the upper and lower rows of teeth. To cut yourself off from others, to isolate yourself in your pain, is to go against nature itself. To become a true Stoic, you must unlearn the survival mechanism of your childhood. You must realize that you are an adult now. The environment that required you to be silent and emotionally invisible no longer exists. You do not have to be low maintenance to be worthy of love. You do not have to be a flawless, high-achieving machine to justify taking up space in this world. The next time you feel overwhelmed, do not retreat into your cave. Notice the urge to shut down. Observe the instinct to pull away, to intellectualize, to fix. And then, do the hardest thing a man with avoidant attachment can do. Stay open. Sit in the discomfort. Tell the person closest to you, I am struggling right now. I don't need you to fix it. I just need to share it. That is not weakness. That requires a level of raw, masculine courage that most men will never possess. It takes far more strength to expose your throat than it does to hide behind an iron shield. Strength is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of it. And you cannot master what you refuse to acknowledge. Stop confusing your childhood trauma responses with philosophical superiority. Drop the fake armor. Stop running from your own humanity. Only when you have the courage to face your internal world, flaws, fears, and all, can you forge a mind that is truly untouchable. If you found value in this harsh truth, do not just consume this video and move on to the next distraction. Apply it. Hit the subscribe button to join a brotherhood of men dedicated to mastering their minds, not just numbing them. This is the forgotten secret. Stay strong, stay present, and I will see you in the next video.